Well, here I am with a much further away view of Heceta Head. Now you can actually see the lighthouse and see how it is actually running. And it's harder to tell the sea stacks apart, isn't it? But you can see that white, that's from the bird guano. So they're obviously living over on this side more so than they are on that side of that second sea stack, the bigger one. The tide is in, so where we were standing in front of those sea caves there, looking up at the conglomerate, that is covered with water now. Here's the, you can see also the other headland that, you know, on the other side of that is the beach that we were on, that you're standing on when you are at Heceta Head State Park, or National Historic Site as they call it now. And then we have another little pocket beach between that headland and the one that we're standing on. Now they claim that Heceta Head Lighthouse is the most photographed lighthouse on the Oregon coast. It is indeed a very beautiful scenery, but you know, instead of that being why, it's probably because they put this big turnout right south of it. Sea Lion Caves is right around the corner. Okay, and Sea Lion Caves is indeed a big, huge cave underneath the headland there. And it's large enough that the sea lions go in there to get away from the, well, predators for one thing, because they can haul out on the rocks. And so it's, you know, in bad weather, it's a place to get out of the bad weather. Now, one of the reasons that I stopped here was because I wanted you to look at this, where that truck's going by. There's kind of an area in the vegetation where there isn't any vegetation, any tall trees growing. And that is because this section of the highway, about 20 years ago, experienced a landslide where it stripped the vegetation and a top layer of the soil off, and it went downhill. So where you can see the lights, they're stopping traffic because they're working. There's a tunnel, and then there's the Cape Creek Bridge and the exit to go down into Heceta Head Beach. So where that white truck is parked, it's parked right below the area of that landslide. And you can see that the area below that landslide also doesn't have any tall trees on it. When that landslide happened, it took out the outermost lane of 101. And 101 was closed for almost 3 months. So you couldn't get from Florence to Yachats on 101 because of the road closure while they fixed the road. Much of Highway 101, like the part I'm standing on here at this roundabout that you can stand on to look out. There's a lot of times there's sea lions playing in the water down below here. This part of 101 and all along this rocky coastline like this is very vulnerable in an earthquake. And if we have a big earthquake, sections like this that are just clinging to the side of the rock are going to fall into the ocean. And those sections, when you drive along 101, where it's going along on top of what is that Pleistocene sand in the depositional areas, that is also going to shift around and maybe ruin the roadbed. So not only are people on the Oregon coast susceptible to tsunamis, they're going to be maybe having issues with rising sea level due global climate change. Rising sea level makes wintertime waves come that much further up onto the beach and causes erosion. But if indeed there's a big earthquake, the people on the Oregon coast, many of them are going to be isolated. These different communities like Waldport, well, Waldport's got Highway 34 going down into it, but who knows how much in the way you'd have in landslides on Highway 34. Same thing with Highway 126 from Eugene out to Florence. There's a lot of steep terrain in there. You could have landslides along both of those roads. And then at least some of Highway 101 along the coastline itself is going to be damaged by a really big earthquake. As we only were too apparent in that slide that happened right here, just south of Heceta Head Beach.